Wake that ass up.
Early in the morning.
The Breakfast Club.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ NV, Jess Hilarious, Charlamagne the Guy. We are the Breakfast Club. We got some special icons and legends in the building today.
Come on now.
We got the legendary Chuck D, of course, from Public Enemy. Welcome, brother.
Hello, it's good seeing y'all.
Now this is a great surprise.
Yeah, man, I had to roll up here with the Godfather.
That's right. We have the Godfather, Kurtis below. Welcome, brother. How you feeling?
I'm feeling mighty fine. Thank you for having me.
Great to see both of you brothers.
What does Kurtis Blow mean to you, Chuck, but also the culture of hip hop?
He's number one. He is the pioneer because he is the first solo artist to record with a major record label of rap music and hip hop, and at the same time was the first to be on a major record label. So he left that indelible mark. 1979 and 1980, just to, and that was the jump. And you're talking about a city that has had 1 million MCs and rappers and DJs. That's why it's important to be here at Power today. Just to say everybody else has been in this city who have been born and have passed on since.
That's right.
You know, this is the city that made it. Just like I had to represent, just for a quick second,
Knicks.
the Knicks
New York
tonight.
Knicks. That's right.
Knicks in 6.
That's right.
This goes out to my man CP the franchise over there. So, but basically, my talk today on the radio station, I cannot, have the brand associated with all the things I
Absolutely.
say.
I got
So
you.
I say the Godfather's right here, and I came up here to talk about a recording that was released on Def Jam called Radio Armageddon. I'm over at Def Jam, sort of like the consigliere, like the Tom in the Godfather, what Tunji Belungan has done.
Right.
And anytime they run into a situation, I remind the major labels and Def Jam and everybody else, you got accountability and responsibility. And 1979, this man recorded with Mercury Records. I had to been, and I benefited off of that because I did a solo record with Mercury in 1996.
Wow.
So thank you, Kurt.
Oh, you're welcome, man. I just want to shout out all the legends who have pioneered this thing before myself.
Name 'em, Kurt.
Inspired me.
Name 'em, Kurt.
People like Pete DJ Jones and Kool Herc, Africa Bambaataa, Grandmaster Flash, Melly Mel, DJ Hollywood, Lovebug Starsky, Eddie Chiba, the Furious Five, the Funky Four, the Fantastic Five, the Treacherous Three, the Fearless Four. So many groups, man. I love you all. Man, thank you for inspiring me. And we will move forward to the future and inspire the future generations to come.
Absolutely.
Now, I want to ask you, Mr. Blow, what do you think? I'm going to ask both of y'all. What do you think the culture lost when hip-hop went corporate, and what do you think it gained?
You want to answer that? Well, number one, it grows big on the top-heavy side, but all the bottom and the middle started getting gutted out. Don't you all get a little envious when you see every single NBA player, well, 90% of them, they carry themselves on interviews? We learned in the beginning when Kurtis Blow did an interview, he spoke for us on TV, whether it's Don, he's the first to get interviewed by Don Cornelius. He's the first to get interviewed by Dick Clark. So we come from the rap circles doing our DJs and MCing and all that, and here's this man being interviewed. He's speaking for all of us. Now, he could go up there on some Goon Squad issue, right? But what would that do? Would that have elevated the art form into an area where we started discussing what we gained and what we lost? Every time you look at an NBA player, 95% of them, and NFL player or Major League Baseball player, even if they're doing English or Espanol, and a lot of it's Espanol, they have to sell the game. They have to sell the game to the fans. And the thing that we've lost, back to your question to God, is that it's been piss poor in public relations and human resources. Every big business makes sure that they're tied and tight with their public relations and their human resource department. If not, this radio station probably does it. A letter from an old lady probably still works in this building. An old white lady.
But it's hard to have that now because of the social media, because you got human emotion And then
Why?
and an ability to be able to go directly to the consumer.
Screen ages have never been taught netiquette.
Screen ages. Wow.
You don't have citizens today. You have
Wow.
netizens. They're not citizens anymore. They're netizens. They're screen ages. They're engaged by everything in and out of the screen. Their life goes through a screen. But what has taught them how to engage on their devices?
That's true.
What has taught them how to engage on their gadgets? At the end of the day, there's only two phone companies. It's Android and Apple.
Right.
At the end of the day, they're the Keebler elves looking at everybody. It's like, say and do whatever you want. Still going to roll it down our river. So when we start to understand, what's behind what, we can, okay, this is the way everybody lives. Okay, how do we manage that? Same thing with life. And, Kurtis Blow is instrumental with Scott X. And he'll tell you, he speak for himself because he taught all us the first hip-hop union. So the whole thing is all the information that we say that we have in these gadgets and devices, we could get it quick and all that. We are not equipped on how to navigate that information. We need a union. I've heard, how many people we've heard talk about we need a union?
Oh, yeah.
When it's easy to go, boop, 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 hip-hop union, hip-hop alliance. So we have these things, but we really don't know how to use them.
But why do you think it's so difficult? Because I think about it all the time. I think about the sacrifices that you brothers made in this music industry, right? That a lot of these younger generation have no ideas, but they eat off of, right? And they're eating a lot of money.
You got people that play ball all the time. They wear the kicks. Also, they wear jerseys. They might not know what the jerseys are.
But the NBA,
wearing a Bill Russell jersey, it's like, I'm wearing number 6.
But NBA have a union where they pay back and they make sure their athletes are good.
Do you think that came from the players, or you think that came from the administrative body that was protecting diminishing returns?
I think the players forced it.
Huh?
I think the players forced it.
No, in 1979, the NBA was almost called the NIGGER Basketball Association. White folks were starting not to come in the seats. David Stern came along in 1980, said, we got to make some changes. 1984, when this man made the song, what's the name of that song, Kurt?
Basketball.
1984, 40 years ago last year. And we actually did a remix of the song for the anniversary, and it's called Basketball 2.0.
I remember it,
where I'm shouting out the new players of today, like LeBron James and Steph Curry and Ja and Jalen Brunson and Kat and all the whole team of today. And it's incredible. Yes.
1984, David Stern also took the jewelry off the players' necks and earrings out. Because he felt that there was an overlapping of black culture, especially Northeastern black culture. He didn't include the West. West wasn't at that point yet. Right. I got to take these Dookie. You remember when ball players used to have Dookie gold chains, especially Dow Dawkins, earrings and all that. David Stern says, we got to stop that. You're scaring the white folk. So that corporation, which will probably lead into being fantastic or bigger than ever, has managed itself, it's governed itself to the good and the bad and the indifferent. But you're going to let the Knicks win tonight. You're going to have 15,000 gooning out over there on 7th Avenue and people going to be, 12, 13 years old. They don't know nothing unless it's taught to them. So, 1999, Allen Houston and all that. What does that mean to a 14-year-old?
Nothing.
Yeah, but you know what? If they really want to ball out or be considered knowledgeable about ball, either they're going to learn or they're going to be fighting.
That's real.
So hip-hop is, it's got to come from a responsible administrative body. Hasn't been there. Y'all name 5 managements in hip-hop right now. And I didn't come here to bash hip-hop because
we just love having this conversation.
Every generation
of course
has its thing. Even Kurt's Christmas rapper said, don't you give me all that job about things I wrote before, things you wrote before I was alive, because this ain't
1823 or even 1970.
So every generation has its favorites and has its way. But if you're going to say, I'm doing rap music and hip hop, and especially you're doing it in New York, then what's the thing in New York that's teaching you? So the union is also a thing that that is more than just a union, because when I came up with the radio Armageddon, which is basically like the MC DJ aspect of Public Enemy, works with that, and it's a way of introducing people like from Daddy-O to Miranda Wright. So it's a quirky project. It's like the weirdness in my head. I don't make records or sell records. I make records that almost like we're not too far from MoMA, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's got to be an art and a craft somewhere before everything. Look, Bob Dylan, how long has Bob Dylan been? And Kurt recorded with Bob Dylan.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So we got to be knowledgeable about this fact. Bob Dylan has been with Columbia Records. I'm sick. I'm going to be 65, God willing. Bob Dylan has been there for 63 years.
Wow.
And you know when Bob Dylan releases a record, do you think he's paying bills in there? No. He said, oh, Bob just turned into masters, so we just got to. So I think one of the accountabilities and responsibilities in rap music and hip-hop on the recording end is how do you curate and caretake the masters of the things that help build it, as far as from the rap end.
Right.
There's only 3 majors. There's Sony. It used to be down the street in Black Rock, where I signed to, where it was CBS. There's Universal, right, which owns Def Jam and Mercury and all those masters. And there's what? There's Warner, Time Warner Brothers, I should say. 3, what can they do? Curate, caretake, because if you don't, then what? Then it's there for the undertaker. And our culture, our music, our people have been undertaken. So some of the things I address in when I do music, the ism that has grown larger than ever, and when everybody's a screenager, is ageism. Ageism is deep. Like, everybody ain't as young as they think they are. I mean, y'all not as young as you.
Hell no. I don't think
But
I'm
I know.
young.
I'm saying that's what I'm saying. That's right. So the whole key in life is to maybe give thanks, but also brag about the currency of the years that you get in revolutions around the sun.
Absolutely.
Marketing works the other way around. Flip the naive kid, sell them anything because they don't know enough, try to sell it to them again. That has diminishing returns on a society. It has a diminishing returns in the world, because we even see it reflected in government.
That's how you was able to get the executive producer of Celebrity Apprentice elected.
Yeah, exactly.
Listen, I want to say I love the song New Generation. And you say on that song, I've been your age, you haven't been mine yet. But I wonder, even though we've been these kids' age, we didn't grow up in their generation, didn't have access to the things that they have now. So how much can we truly relate, even though we have been their age? We just haven't been their age in this time frame.
Got to work on it. I mean, I don't know what it's like to pull a egg out chicken's ass either. You know what I'm saying? I mean, to me, milk means go to the store and get a carton. So that generation before me, looked at me like, yo, you don't know what that is? So we have to do our best on logic and practical sense. I mean, common sense is rationale, deductive reasoning, and I forgot the other one right now because I have aged brain lapse, but we have to work on these things at all times, and we can't probably rely on systems and school systems. Before, we had an area of culture that snuck it in, covert. Hip-hop was a covert operation, remember? Because at the time, they totally gave up on school systems. They talk about, oh, man, Columbine, but we had a 10 to 15-year period once guns and drugs came in our community where high school shootings in major urban cities, especially in the United States, they became like a little bit of an epidemic before it became a national epidemic across the board. It's very easy to say, oh, yeah, it's the culture, No, but there's some lapses that, planted the seed. So anyway, to bring it full circle, the Hip Hop Alliance that I'm involved with, Kurt reached out some years ago. Yeah, but you can speak for yourself. He reached out.
Well, the Hip Hop Alliance is just that. The Alliance is an organization that is a labor force organization. There needs to be a system to monitor, to actually communicate and educate to the youth, to our community. We're out on a mission fighting for fair wages and fair royalties and strong health and retirement benefits for all of our people. And, we specialize in IPs and publishing and trademarks. And you can go to hiphopalliance.org and check us out. It's free to join, support us. We are out there fighting for you to make sure this journey that you are on in your career is successful.
I want to ask with Def Jam, of course, this project is under Def Jam. Were you always signed to Def Jam, or was it a re-sign? Have you been with Def Jam that long? So break that down.
I was the first rapper they had a bid. They didn't have a bidding war, no such thing. I turned Rick Rubin down for 2 years.
Why?
I didn't want to do records. My thing was radio. We felt, my guys, one of the first, and Kirk will tell you, I mean, we broke so many records in Long Island, WBAU. We did records right. We did hip-hop right. We were scientists. We were ESPN of hip-hop and rap music. We just ain't from the city. So we had the outside in. We promoted gigs, concerts, we did it all. So we used to compensate for the lack of rap records by making incredible tapes and promo tapes. And Rick was starting Def Jam with, Kurtis Blow's friend Russell. And
Why you say
for 2 years.
Not your friend.
Not your friend.
He's my friend. Oh yeah, Russell's my friend. I mean, but he started out with Kurt.
Of course.
Matter of fact, more trivia, Kurt and Russell used to throw gigs in the 70s under and then Kurt's Russell's first artist.
Yes. We had a club in Hollis, Queens. Called the Night Fever Disco back in 1977, 78. And I was a DJ playing every weekend. And I used to stay at Russell's house over in Hollis, 25th Street. And when I was there, I met his younger brother. And he used to beat him up all the time. I used to protect. My big brother used to beat me up all the time. So I was like, yo, leave him alone. He's a good kid. I took him under my wing and made him the son of Kurtis Blow. And that was DJ Run.
Of course.
Taught him how to DJ, and he became incredible on the mic. He was my DJ when I released Christmas Rap in 1979.
And nasty, too.
We had 8 million stories about that whole situation. Run was incredible. I loved the family, Danny, Joey, Russell, his dad, rest in peace, his mom, rest in peace. And
art people.
That was
people of the
Night
arts.
Fever Disco. I mean, I remember we brought Flash out to the Night Fever Disco, the first time Flash ever played in Queens. And that was incredible, just to be that liaison to the Bronx and represent early hip-hop in Queens with that whole crew, the Hollis crew. I love you guys.
I want to ask you, Mr. Blow, was there ever a time in the 80s where you knew hip-hop was about to explode, but you didn't feel ready for what came next?
Oh, yeah. I was definitely a visionary. I hate to talk and brag about that, but it was incredible, and just the feeling. I remember Chuck D saying that whole energy, that spirit.
Before records? Woo!
Between 1975 and 1979 was the most incredible spirit. I mean, it had spread throughout the whole 5 boroughs, from Harlem to the Bronx to Queens to Brooklyn. And it was just an energy that everyone knew that this is something special, very special. And we capitalized on it, And
yeah, you couldn't even describe it. It's hard to describe on radio that era before records, because before that it was inconceivable to put rap on records. It's a 3-hour thing. It got dancing. It got all. How you put rap on records? Yeah, you get on the mic, but I mean, how long the record got beat? 3 hours? But then in '79, King Tim III, Sugar Hill Gang, which took 2 records, not just people say, "Oh, it's Good Times." No, it's 2 records that made Sugar Hill Gang, Love Deluxe, and then Kurtis Blow with Christmas Rap, which just took it into the stratosphere, and like I said, back to your new gens thing, it's like youth is an excuse that I don't let young people do, because it's easy to you can't. I mean, I'm triple OG. There's no way I'm going to convince a person, a teenager. It's like that communication got to come from the next step up that they want to get to. So all I do is just I weigh them against themselves. Somebody think, oh, I'm too young for that. They be 16. I'm like, okay, your 12-year-old brother is going to actually get all your props and everything that well, I earned that. So everybody in their life wants to use tenure. The drug game changed all that and flipped that up, because they say, oh, overnight, boom, boom, and we saw what happened to that, and when that was introduced. A lot of things came during the era of R&B. That's Reagan and Bush. And and when that came in, we're still recovering off of that scar tissue. But hip-hop is a beautiful thing, man. It's got layers and layers, and like I said, we started from a radio environment. I mean, I've been running Rap Station for 16 years. I built 2 apps. One is the Bring the Noise app, which it works like TikTok, 35 and over. Apps are difficult to make, especially when you have e-commerce. I've only built 2. And I'm not the guy that just sits in the other room. I'm kind of like checking in with my developer and all. Right. And we did the Rap Station app, which has 12 radio stations all dedicated to things around the world of rap. We've broken at least 500,000 songs over 16 years.
Wow.
So did you approach Radio Armageddon like a broadcaster, a prophet, or a rebel?
All 3, man.
Yeah, all 3 on this album.
All 3, Charlamagne, dipped in acid with Wu-Tang axes in the back and hammer shoes and all that. You know what I'm saying? It's like, in my head, I mean, my first record is Public Enemy #1, which is a tone, which is Blow Your Head by the JBs. Right. With a very familiar break beat, but nobody could figure it out. I'm from skater culture, and not the skater culture today. Roller skating culture. Right. Roller rinks dominated, so we moved to music. And we didn't have to move to music. Music moved us. I mean, seriously, it make you want to move. I mean, at Roosevelt Roller Rink, man, I'm the dude that's skating backward. I mean, I did a concert in Cleveland one year, just me going up in the spot in the roller rink, and I skated backwards doing all my songs while they were skating towards me. I was that little card in the wallet that says Bad MF. I was one of those.
So
people.
you from the hot skates, the Roosevelt Rink. What else was out there back then?
Babylon further out.
Babylon.
You had in Brooklyn. You had I just have that.
There was the rink. There was what's the one in Brooklyn? Oh my God.
Empire.
Empire used to get shot up all the time. Empire.
And then in other cities, I believe, and this depends on the music too. I believe that skating rinks can be a possibility for enjoyment of future music and future cardio. Because one thing being a screenager, you sedentary, you'll sit at that screen all damn day long, and and trust me, I mean, a song that's on the album, I want to attack ageism and the sedentary life and all that, is Black Don't Dead. Because you hear the talk we take for granted. You from South Carolina, so you know a lot of the talk of, black don't crack. Yeah, but it could die.
Right.
Yeah, for real. And what are the 5 fingers of death? Diabetes, cancer, hypertension, with stress and stroke, heart disease. It's like, boom. So with all this, we do a great job of the exterior and covering up, but it's a grind, especially when you have the things out here, and then you've got have plenty of people on these shows that you bring up here that will tell people like what's out there and what to avoid and all that.
Yeah, well, we try to make sure people know about it, because the worst thing that I always hear is
don't you wish you could talk 24 hours a day to them?
Yes. Yeah. When DJs that come up here that I don't go to the doctor, or rappers you hear I don't go to the doctor, then you see them get sick and you was like, damn, that could have been prevented. So we try to talk about those things about eating healthy and all that, things that I didn't. I mean, I grew up in Queens. White Castle was 2 blocks away. That's what I ate most of the time. You know what I mean? So we definitely try to preach to those people.
I'm glad you brought that record up because I listen to records like Black Don't Dead, and it makes me wonder, did making Radio Armageddon feel like a spiritual purge or a final warning?
No, none of that. I say that for Public Enemy record. this is taking a radio and throwing it down a flight of stairs and seeing if it still work. It's not meant for people to like. Remember, I made Public Enemy records, man, not for nobody to like. I told Rick Rubin, no, he's the greatest producer. Look, Rick Rubin's one of the greatest producers of all time.
Yes.
Who ever told him no?
You?
I was wanted. There's certain qualities back in the day that Kurt also knows too. If you didn't have a voice that rocked the mic, sounded good, you wasn't getting the mic. I don't care how many verses you got, bars you got. If you sounded like you was 15 years old, you had to take up something else. You had to dance, maybe DJs and stuff like that. You had to command the crowd like Hollywood, Kurtis Blow, Starsky. They command, Melly Mel. When they grabbed the mic, people just sat down because I can't sound like that. Studios balance that stuff out and this and all that. But yeah, so that's and your question was again
a spiritual purge or a final warning to people.
My point was, it's like I never ever made a song for somebody else to like. That's like asking somebody else, how do I look? After you went to the mirror, brush yourself up and asking somebody else, how do you look? But being screenagers, people listen with their eyes today. A little bit too much with their eyes. You could tell them they might listen, but did they hear it? So there's a lot of covert now happening when you could be told the truth, but if you don't see it, now it's the flip verse with that. It's like, believe none of what you see and half of what you hear. Because people ain't listening. So believe at least half of what you hear and dissect that. But as far as seeing, especially with AI, and I've been dancing and boxing with AI for like the last 5 years, I'm trying to tell you, it don't go backwards. It ain't going to get dumber. And yes, there is an issue there in real life and regular life and in culture and music and art and all that. You're not going to stop it, but you can dance with it. And you can manipulate it. You can flip it, but you better know how to dance. And you better know what it is. Because
I think you can dance with it if you already have some knowledge yourself, if you already have some information of your own.
Or better yet, you have an understanding of things before you.
Right.
And you have to practice. Like I said, I ain't never pulled an egg out of a chicken, but at least I know and I seen it. I ain't did it. You know what I'm saying? So this is something with AI, technology, gadgets, computers. Unfortunately, that bumps up into areas like artillery and, all kinds of doom machines and weirdos that just think all of a sudden, they got the mic and the camera for me. Everybody got the mic and the camera. Everybody got the mic and the camera at the same damn time. So triple OGs and OGs sometimes with some wisdom, sometimes choose to be silent because everybody on the mic. Right. Sit my ass down and listen. Because the key is listening if you're going to even be able to protect your surroundings. So it's not something where, we were innately born with these qualities to be leaders and wise people. This came from the shoulders of giants we stood on. This man made a sacrifice that I had to take advantage of. But then it's all about, okay, you got to brick it back. And when you brick it back, then that makes that side stronger. And the ageism that's taking place was intentionally poured over Black life in the modern world. And I would think a lot of it started during, like I said, R&B, Reagan and Bush, because I am a product of the 60s and the 70s. And in the 70s, with all the BS that was going on in the United States at that time, look, in 1974, you had an impeached president. This country was rocky as hell. Black folks was figuring it out. We knew, like, okay, this is what we have. We're going to make this work. We might have not been, we might have been broke, but we wasn't broken. That was the key. Black folks, right? Black folks were together no matter what they threw at us.
Yep.
The only thing they could throw at us in the 80s was a plethora of guns, drugs, and then also a lot of things they poured in there that caused division between the young and old. You go to other societies, and that start to crack down, because you go to Amazon and they screen ages too in the Amazon. So, but elders are revered, and then also elders. They don't get that term of, oh, yo, they just bitter because they ain't getting it. Number one, the old school, listen, they didn't measure themselves with money. That's where the term came from. It's like, I don't want your money. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm saying in the best New York vernacular.
Right.
When you go, yo, man, I don't want your money. Because their levels, their statuses was different. Their statuses was like here. It was like deep within. This is the core that no matter what machinery they came up with, they couldn't penetrate the core here. You know, you go to places like Philly, it's like, damn, man, I wonder when they're going to get some urban renewal. But Philly was called the city of brotherly love. So within all the drama, people like, yo, we like here. The Bronx. Bronx was left to ashes, left for dead. What comes up out of that?
Hip-hop.
Hip-hop.
Hip-hop. Yeah. The Bronx is burning. Yep.
So, I mean, the 80s came with a whole bunch of, so now it's about like, what has hip-hop got in its toolbox? How many tools can you put in the hip-hop toolbox to be able to wedge out some future path? And, it ain't about going back. It's all about going forward. Who the hell want to go back?
Is hip-hop still the best weapon for revolution?
No. Everybody got a gadget. From your grandmother to the child being born. Something better come through that. We don't know what that is. Remember I said hip-hop was covert. Was. That
It
was,
ain't covert anymore.
that was done before Fight the Power, bro. Fight the Power became what it was because of Spike Lee.
Okay.
So I mean, who does that? Plays a song in a movie 500 times. And nobody did that.
Yeah.
Spike made that record happen. Now,
What was your relationship with Spike for him to do that? Or he just wanted to, he felt
At
it?
that time in the 80s, man, and like I said, this comes from the seed of Kurtis Blow. There was a renaissance period of filmmakers, artists, hip-hop, that were all being independently creative and using those tools out of the ashes that was bestowed upon us. Look at the key. People talk about Fight the Power like because it's the headline buzzword, decades like, oh yeah, cool, we buy that. They fail to realize, or they wasn't taught. I had to always tell people there was a first Fight the Power by the Isley Brothers in 1975 that me and Kurt was influenced by.
Which one was that? I don't.
Yeah, Fight the Power by the Isley Brothers.
That's what it was called. Oh, I didn't even know that. Wow.
Yeah, 1975. And remember, I told you the country was rocky. And Isley came up with tired of all that BS going down. First record I ever heard on pop radio with a black radio with a curse word in it.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah, I was like, whoa, be on WWRL, Super 16. And then I'm going to play some Fight the Power. People like on the Hotep, Gary Bird. This city right here, here's another thing about OGs. This city right here, when you have like a tenured lens of any place you go to, whether it's where you're from or whatever, in Queens, you still see the old buildings that was there. I still see the old buildings, although they've been replaced by new buildings. That's third eye vision, man. You're able to see the past, present, and the future that they're building. New heads come along in their generation probably only could see what they see. That's why it's deeper than your ear can hear or your eye can see. I go around, walk down this street. I'm saying, oh, that place used to be there. Boom, boom, boom. The whole key is this: keep your recognition, or what they call your
cognitive dissonance, right?
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Keep that because that will help you. Kurt says, like I said, I'm not in the business of wellness. You have people like, Griff who taught wellness for years. Look at Flav. Flav has gone through his ninth life. You know what I'm saying? Like I went down to Penn Station the other day and ran into the Cane's. I didn't even know what the Cane's chicken was.
Oh, Raising Cane.
Man, ran in Penn Station. He's all over the place. But so the whole key is about getting to the 100-yard line.
Yeah.
Not dying at the 50-yard line in football. You know what I'm saying? Getting to the other side of the scrimmage. And that's what Kurt was talking about. And so hip-hop could be useful and beneficial in adding some of these things. It's not going to be a total revolution running through it because it's been ran through. Anytime they mention hip-hop, it's always from the catastrophic end to make its news. Today they called, Brown. They called him a rapper, because he got in trouble in the UK.
Chris Brown. Yeah.
Rapper, and they used to call Bobby Brown a rapper.
Yeah.
It's very easy but okay, if you know what it is, then try to figure out how you could run your play. I'm a sports head, so my thing is like this. Like even like if we roll out as a group, I say, well, this is the starting lineup. The rest of the crew got to figure other things out to do. That's how the sports world. Next man up, boom, boom, boom. It's hard sometimes with people in the music business because that sports thing will teach your ass. I mean, oh yeah, by the way, you're not gonna make this team. You cut. When you gonna come back and shoot the coaches? Like dog, work on your thing, man.
Train all summer long, come back.
Same thing in hip hop. Right. Work on your thing. And then I look at, here's another thing. It's not talking about anybody, but the rap battles and beefs. It's like you don't want to get into an area where you rhyming in circles, man. Rhyming in circles means like the dog chasing his tail. It's rhymes that go nowhere. It's cool. It's cool to get into like lyrical acrobatics and all that. But at the end, you got to process something into something. And if the best processes is somebody just like seriously disrespecting you, how does that not leave a stain over decades? When the last time you say, I came from a hip hop song and this joint was refreshing? I mean, P-Rock CL Smooth. You throw a P-Rock CL Smooth record on, they're like, yo, man, this is like nutrition.
Troy.
Rakim has never done a failing song, ever. I've never heard Rakim do a song and say, well, but where's the support in it? KRS-One has never, ever, 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 ever lost. But it's very easy to excuse it because this is what's happening now and all that. Cool, but
I feel like that with a lot of people though. Like I feel like that with Kendrick. I feel like that with like Rhapsody. Like this week I was watching Joey Badass and Ab-Soul and Big Sean do a cypher, and I thought that was to you use the right word. I was like that was refreshing.
That was dope.
People like LaRussell.
Promoters look back in the day, and Kurtis tell you. Promoters will tell you exactly how it rolls. They'll give you a top. Let's say you got 6 rappers, 6 groups. What do the promoters say, Kurt? The one that's closing it out is the one. The one that closes out the building. Not just because people came to see, because, look, there's a difference between spectacle and spectacular. I tell people this all the time. There's a big difference. And the rock guys, remember, I was in a rock group 4 years. There's a night and day between us. I don't care how much money a rapper make. It ain't about the money. It's about how much you can really put impact on that building and then on a fan's head.
That's why I like seeing Kendrick the other night at MetLife. Like literally, I'm sitting there watching like, yo, and because he's just an MC.
You got to smash. You got to smash a crowd. You got to smash a crowd. If you can be an MC and at the end of the day, F all the slang, heck all all the goon rhythm. You're like this, bravo, right. like a loop, like Pavarotti. Yo, man, and that's what the rock boys strive for. Me, I'm rap music and hip hop. I learned from this man. I'm trying to beat their ass. The stage is the places where you really, you gotta, take somebody's crowd and stuff like the battles on wax and all that stuff. It's cute, man, but you could go in the studio. You can record it in front of a person, a human being. Mano, mano, let's go. And it could be like you could be doing the ugliest shit over there, excuse my language, or somebody else doing something totally different. How are you going to win that human being? And that's what our genre started out as. It didn't start out with a lot of things in the toolbox, but that at the same time, they had to leave the audience in awe. That's how you spell audience, AWEDence. And somehow that was also lost because what's the proving ground? In boxing, the proving ground was what? Person in the ring, person in the ring.
That's right.
Right? Excuses out the door. Hip hop is a little different. Promoter's gonna say the one that's gonna close out the building
Is the one.
is the one.
So
The
what do you
one that's
think
gonna
about
open up is gonna, hopefully you could get people coming through there and stay in their
get
seats.
to that level?
Yeah, you got somebody in the middle that can't hold it, they off the tour. They out of there. Forget how many records they sold. If they can't be better than their record, out of there. But audiences it's changed over the years because they're happy. I remember when I used to take my oldest kids to like Coliseum and places like that, and they had 8 acts on the bill, and I asked them when they all come back in the car, I ain't going in there with them. They're like, did you like it? No, you know what I'm saying? I could, but we're not mixing like that.
Right.
Here's another thing.
Chuck, you would like a Kendrick show.
I
You
would.
like.
I've been to
He's
you
an
know,
MC.
He's an MC.
And to see him perform in front of in that arena, in that football stadium, just rapping, no gimmicks, no nothing.
This is the first
Incredible.
man that came out as one man, and I thought being one man could never beat a group. And he came out as one man. Because back in the day, it was like what? Cruz.
It was on Cruise, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then this man begat the next solo MC who was a superstar. That's LL Cool J.
Right.
And
Rap's first superstar.
Rap's first superstar.
Absolutely.
You make Prince and Michael Jackson turn their head. Kurtis made all the funk bands and all people recognize, yo, this thing is real. I mean, look, why am I talking for the man? He played with Bob Marley. He played with the Clash and all that. He dug tomatoes from rock groups.
I wanted to ask Mr. Blow because you spoke about the Ronald Isley Fight the Power, and my daddy used to always tell me James Brown was the first rapper, right? So I think about a song like "Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud." That was revolutionary for its time.
Oh, yeah.
Did stuff like that influence you?
1968.
68,
Oh, yes,
yes,
yes. And that's straight out of the civil rights movement. That inspired all of us in many ways, multiple number of ways, not only the lyrics, right, but the beat. That beat was what we call boom bap today. So it changed the whole sound. It was a revolution to the Motown sound with the pat, 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 boom, pat, boom, pat, pat. The snare every 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? But now we have that boom, bap, boom, bap, boom, bap. And when James Brown did it, we lost our minds. Everybody started breakdancing, trying to be James Brown on the dance floor with the splits and the twists and the turns and the flips and everything. And that's where breakdancing got inspired. But the whole thing was the civil rights movement. So after 1968 into the 70s, we have the Flower Childs and the peace and love movement, and forget about your troubles, forget about your cares. We're going to dance the night away. And dancing became a national craze, right? So then here comes a DJ, Kurtis Blow, all right? I'm hearing all this stuff, and so I got an opportunity to make a couple of records, Christmas rap in 1979, right? So when I did that song, I was signed to a major label over in Chicago. So I went to Chicago, the first flight out of Harlem, I went to Chicago. And I was there, I was hanging out with the record company, and I did a couple of shows, and Jesse Jackson came to one of my shows, and he sat me down backstage. He said, "Man, I want to talk to you. What I'm going to say to you, I want you to go back and tell the rest of your whole crew and everybody. Now, this thing called rap, you guys are the new icons of our people, the new heroes of the civil rights movement.
Wow.
And you need to keep it clean if you ever want to see it be successful on the pop market and be accepted by everyone." So I was like, "Oh, wow, okay, I hear you. And it was Jesse Jackson. So I'm like, whoa. I went back to the Sugar Hill Gang, Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, and our first interview we did, national interview on Radio Scope. And before the interview, I said, man, I just talked to Jesse Jackson, and he told me, man, we are the new heroes of the black community, and we need to keep it clean if we ever want to see it go far and be successful. So right then, we had the code of ethics that we established. Like, we would not curse, we would not diss each other, and we would keep it clean, right? And that was my sacrifice. That was the sacrifice I made. I made 240 rap songs and never used profanity.
Wow.
And that was my sacrifice, to open the door so everyone else could come in and do what they do, a.k.a. public enemy.
Because of that conversation with Jess Jackson.
And you got to take the
That's
mentorship humbly, too, because I'm here doing a concert. I'm holding the mic. Kurt says, you hold the mic. So you got it right? So you got it like when the master teacher, you're always a student. And the teacher's always learning. So I told Kurt, I said, one time I was behind Ice Cube leaving, and Ice Cube backed up into me, and my mic chipped my tooth, so that's why I hold it like that. And Kurt said, I'll give you a pass.
I wanted to ask about
real quick.
Go back to what he said though. What fast? We're talking about the rap battles and how that made hip hop how it was, right? We could talk about Kumo D and LL, and we could go further back
because they dealt with vocabulary and vernacular.
What do you think about the rap battles of today and how it affects hip hop? Like the Kendrick and Drake, and like those big battles that we've seen, is it helpful? Is it worse? Does it hurt? Does it help?
The topics ain't vast. My thing is, like, if you want to get at somebody, vast your topics and also vast your vocabulary. But then again, I'm from New York, and somebody, like, a lot of times, like, for example, I didn't battle. I wasn't a battle person, but because I had a voice. So what somebody got to use like 3 verses for, all I got to do is say 4 sentences. Everyone will hear me. So I didn't have to, like, it's more like in Shaq and basketball. I ain't got to shoot a threat, so all I got to do is dunk you. But that's rap talk, you know what I'm saying? I just think that
Kendrick was very vast, though.
But you got guys out there like that got 20 albums that under the radar that should never be under the radar, especially from New York, like Sky Zoo. Sky Zoo got 27 albums.
It's actually my cousin.
That's his cousin.
Oh, really?
Real cousin, yeah.
Real life.
Oh, wow. But see, there you go. It's like, okay, so he's out of the discussion because he doesn't have a rep bring him to radio stations and stuff like
He's
that.
been here before, a long time ago, right?
Yeah, but
a couple times.
like he got 27 albums though.
You're right.
Yeah.
So can he actually hang with the person that's the anointed one? Probably. I mean, come on, man. We're talking about this city's had 1 million rappers, MCs since 1974, right?
Right.
Look, every time you're on the radio, I bet you there's a 70-year-old dude out there like, psh. You know what I'm saying?
do that. Right.
There's people at 55 years old like, that kid's garbage.
Sure.
And then, and then he probably, people's moms got verses now. They got bars, as they say. You know what I'm saying? So it's a beautiful art form. And listen, it's not to itself. It's a culmination of all the art, because it started from records. So whether it's rock, it's soul, R&B, not the Reagan and Bush one, reggae. Well, it started from records. So that's where that mixology comes in. That's why I try to, I do a radio Armageddon. You can't listen to that thing for like 10 seconds in a row and think you got a steady thing happening. Nah, it's meant to be fragmented and fragment your brain. It's a fun piece of art for me, and I will continue to make more radio Armageddon-like records. It's not a solo album, it's a solo project, but once again, when you put it out there in the world, you got to put Chuck D's name on it to make it do whatever, or stream, or get eyeballs. I don't care nothing about that. You know what I'm saying? In case of emergency, Tunesy says, Chuck, break glass. You know what I'm saying? And because, like I said, the comparison is other art forms. Bob Dylan. Bob Dylan don't really, whether you show up to Bob Dylan's thing or buy his music, it don't matter. Bob Dylan is Bob Dylan. Correct. And the day that Bob Dylan transitions on, it's going to stop the world for 2 days. And music and culture. We could do the same in hip hop and rap music. Look at you guys. How long you guys been doing radio?
16.
I've been doing it 27 years, but we've been doing Breakfast Club almost 15 years.
Yeah, I've been
you
doing
go.
it about the
There
same,
you
about
go.
27 years. But
Something like that is revered. Where is it revered other than the occupation? Where is it embedded into the foundation of New York radio? 6th Avenue right there. If you might have not known the name, but we do. They named it, 6th Avenue, that part over close to here. Cousin Brucey Way. Did you know that?
Right.
Cousin Bruce Morrow is one of the legends in New York radio. Got so many records played in this city, black, white, and whatever, on WABC, 77 radio on the AM dial in New York. And then went to WCBS. Super legends that are revered in the Northeast forever. You guys are the same. So the whole thing is, and also I don't get into the flower talk. I mean, you can plant flowers and have plastic flowers. It's like, what it is certain reverence for necessary foundations that move our craft forward. These are the things we need. Administrators, managements. You could build a Lamborghini or have one, right? What good is a Lamborghini on a mud road or a swamp? People are building great vehicles in the culture in rap music and hip hop. The road's a swamp. What Kurtis done with Hip Hop Alliance, we could have some solid ground. Okay, you're an artist. You don't get a lot of fanfare, whatever. You've done 5 or 10 albums. You should be part of a union. The union comes up, and the thing about the union, it's not like this thing like we just started a union. No, it's actually tied in legitimately to systems that work in the Screen Actors Guild in Hollywood. You don't ever hear a person from Hollywood talking about, there ain't no union. No, films, people, they might be a bit part. They don't play around. They don't play around in Hollywood. That's the thing that got me also too. Before I actually have Kurt explain Hip Hop Alliance, because I know we're running out of time.
No, we're not. Keep talking. We go.
And in Hollywood, you hear about a lot of things, how rap rules the world and all that. However, when somebody goes to another area, they might wild out in rap. They're not wilding out in the other areas.
That's true.
They film. Oh yeah, be on the set at 6 o'clock in the morning. Your ass ain't on the set. Get them out of here.
You know why that is, though.
Yeah, because
people think white ice is colder. They don't act up in front of them white people.
That's true, but I'm saying in all other realms, they treat it seriously if it's white or not. I mean, there's organizations out there that are black. They don't play that. You know what I'm saying? But, okay, I won't be part of that. But people say, I want to be in the movies and all that. I want to be in this thing over here. I want to be in the NBA and all that. You could be the best player, but if you ain't right in the NBA, you ain't even making G League. Yeah, go overseas, go to China, and that ain't going to be easy in a minute either. So I think in every area, it's not about you. It's what you can continue to have the road underneath you solid. Tell them about the SAG-AFTRA and how it's tied in.
Before we do that, Mr.
Yes, sir.
Because you said something a little while ago that I can't not let
There's
it
something?
go. There's a lot of things. But you said Jesse Jackson told you and that you and the other brothers and sisters in hip hop were the next leaders.
Another South Carolina.
Yes, that's right. Greenville. The new leaders, right? You took that responsibility serious.
Yes.
Well, Malcolm X said no community has athletes and celebrities as leaders except for black people, and he didn't like that. So I really want to know what both of y'all think about that.
Oh my gosh, I just want to shout out his family right now.
Yes, sir, right, exactly.
His birthday is coming up
Monday
on
May 21st.
Oh yeah, man, yeah.
No.
May 19th.
May 19th,
right? He's going to be 100 years old. Everyone. So
we had the minister's
function.
birthday on May 11th, so that's how close their birthdays are. I think 94.
I got a shout out to Ileana, Ilyasa, and Atalia, the family. They're doing a big function coming up on the 18th and 19th up in Harlem, where he was killed at the Audubon, and they're doing a big function over there, celebrating his past and his history and legacy. But
what did you think when he said? Because like I said, Malcolm said no community has athletes and celebrities as leaders. He didn't like that. But Jesse was telling y'all, no, y'all are the new leaders, and you took that responsibility serious. So,
well, this was a whole thing about the civil rights movement from Martin Luther King and to Mr. Russell and John Lewis.
John
made that
Lewis
song,
too. Mm.
right? Not John Russell.
But
John
you
Lewis.
made the King Holiday song
Right.
back in '84 too.
Right. And so, that whole mindset was to reach out to the youth. And it's like we are fishers of men. This is what Martin Luther King told, and John Lewis told Jesse. And he extended that whole mindset of, let me reach out to the youth and tell them, you guys are the new civil rights movement. And this is where hip hop came from. And this is our power. This is our legacy. This is our beginning, the truth of the beginning. It is an extension of the civil rights movement. So, I love Malcolm. Actually, I grew up right next door in Harlem, 260 Convent Avenue, the building with 10 floors. I lived on the 9th floor, and when I was like 14, 15, guess who moves right next door? Atalia Shabazz.
Wow.
And I had a big crush on her. She was beautiful, incredible. I used to see her walking down the hill, Amsterdam and then Convent. We lived on Convent. It was a little hill, so I used to see her walking down the block with her bags and everything. And I used to run and go get the bags and carry them for her. Or I would see her come to the building. I'll open the door, press for the elevator, and ride upstairs.
Yo, your wife's sitting right there, my brother. What's up? What are you doing?
She knows. She knows the whole story. I told
royalty.
her a million times.
It's royalty, right? Royalty. Yeah,
And
you know.
she was incredible. So, I mean, that whole mindset of just being an activist, being the voice of the people, comes from the civil rights movement, comes from Malcolm X, comes from Martin Luther King and Jesse Jackson.
When you have knowledgeable people, you always could agree to disagree. You don't have to get in you don't have to have the goon moment. You got to look at it, Charlamagne, like a toolbox. If Malcolm's a flathead, then Dr. King's a Phillips head. You know what I'm saying? Both of them are screwdrivers that open up or close the situation and tighten it. So the toolbox is what you want to have. Back in the day, before screens, being well read is meaning that, okay, you ain't gonna read everything, but one thing you start to learn how to read people. You be able to get stories head to head, face to face, and you do your reading. But then again, knowledge is power, but it ain't, because if you can't use it and you can't share it, and that great song that the group Third World did, that Heavy D covered, Now That We Found Love, but
What
are we gonna
do with
Yeah.
it?
we talk love, but what are you gonna do with it? So, so this, back in the day, wordsmiths, you always had like the hip cats, whether they talked in rhymes, whether it was just cool. I mean, back in Roosevelt, Long Island, man, home of Dr. J. I grew up down the street from Eddie and Charlie Murphy, man. I mean, we just had a whole different thing in the 70s, but you had guys, the serious big fro, ride a Stingray backwards, right, with a record player in their arm, with a rake in their hair, and they, you couldn't buy them. It wasn't about you couldn't buy their money. They were just cool and they were stuck in their thing. Get their brew, get their weed. That's all they did. But everybody gravitated to it because what they did, they reigned with knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Even in the 80s, when the 5%ers had more muscle, their whole striving was to be civilized, even with all the drama that was bestowed upon them.
That's right.
That's why I don't also make a mockery of prisons, because that's the beginning of the mass pushing in of prisons. So I don't look at crime or the created criminal as a thing to take lightly. People serve real time for offenses that were like, yo, man, manipulated their way. Then you also got people that's just gonna do the dirty because they do the dirty. But everybody just wasn't dirty, criminal minded like that. But they was forced in their situation to be criminal minded. whatever it was, I'm not making excuses for it. I just never went that way because it wasn't something to glamify knowing the seed that it came from. So when somebody said gangster, I'm like, they play gangsters. The real gangsters are government.
That's real.
And they get a check. Yo, yeah, really. I mean, and governments, plural. That's why on the first Public Enemy album, it said the government's responsible, plural, not singular. Every single one. I mean, look, right now, the games that they're playing and where people's heads and minds are at court cases, or maybe somebody goes around. I won't even get into the beginning of it because it'll be sound bites for years.
Of course.
But y'all know what's out there. You know what you
Absolutely.
see.
Yep.
And once again, what I say, difference between spectacle and spectacular. You know what? Spectacle gets you in the building. Spectacular keeps you coming back for more.
That's real.
So our Public Enemy, like anytime that me and Flavor would say, we could play anywhere in the world. We could be out on tour 6 months. We could play stadiums and arenas. But then again, what kind of life is that? We sexagenarians, man. The whole key is being where you got to be and then doing that when you want to do it. Not that you have to go around and do that. So this year we're playing and opening with Guns N' Roses. But I ain't going to do that for like 3 months. I'm going to do it up to my birthday. Bring my ass back home, man. Like people are like, oh, man, you want to be on tour, man. Like, oh, you coming out this way? Nah, I ain't coming that way.
Well, I do agree that hip hop artists, you definitely are the leaders, especially then. And I started paying attention to Minister Farrakhan because of you, Chuck. Because my dad would always try to get me to watch Minister Farrakhan speeches. You sit in front of the TV, but you're not really paying attention. Yeah. When I heard you say on Bring Your Noise, Farrakhan's a prophet, and I think you ought to listen to him, like, oh.
Or don't believe the hype, But that was my job at that particular time to say, in the midst of R&B, remember, Reagan and Bush, I'm telling you, that was a reign of terror. The 12 years. That was a dozen years. And not to say that, we had the 1996 Communications Act where it consolidated and got rid of all the black radio stations. So that meant that you could not, as a company or music and records, could not individually or regionally negotiate with a region to get your music across. It single-handedly wiped out radio stations and it wiped out black independent record companies. You had to kind of go down in swamp level under the radar to be able to get some organic growth in music. And if that's the only thing that's actually getting around, of course, and this is what I mean by the positive negative thing. Plus minus, let's say, right? Basketball talk. To go up a hill, man, takes what? Energy, inertia. You got to break gravity. That's what that's what Kendrick Lamar, like, okay, I'm going to try to at least go here. I know I got to, go up here in a certain way, but yeah, to get to that mountaintop, you got to break a lot of gravity. But also, to come down, easy. You can just free fall. And that's what I thought that a lot of times it's like, yeah, you taking the free fall away. I mean, anybody could come up with that tactic to rhyme about that and to get that ooh, and then it depends on how mature your audience is. If you got a whole bunch of 18-year-olds, they're going to look at it differently than a whole bunch of 36-year-olds. Seriously. I always used to take a group of young kids. I said, next time, man, tell me the amount of time your parents smile. And that shows you how they ain't playing as many games as you playing. You know what I'm saying? Just count their smiles. And the older they rank up, it will be less and less of them. We have music and culture, man. Keep it, the music and culture, man, used to keep you smiling just being a fan. And I think that could come in. It's like, and years ago I got into it with Hot 97. Not into it, because people don't want to get into it with me, because I left it alone, but go to do a concert, and you got the guy say, yeah, these are the ends to actually start the revolution. And I'm like, all right, half this place full of white people over here where they play football, and they hearing the N-word, right? And not to say that we didn't use it. It's just like, that's what they used to call pool room language on the streets, on the corners, but now corporate America is going to use it. and not be accountable for what happens afterwards. So I had to be able to say, yo, man, y'all a radio station, man. Y'all need to be more accountable in this city where MCs, the million MCs wouldn't condone that, especially coming out of a white company.
So they introduced y'all like that.
Yo, man, I let them know.
That's crazy.
Sure enough. But you know what? They're checking it. Oh, yeah, well, we didn't get any feedback from any kids. Kids ain't gonna give you no feedback. You gotta come in there and set precedent. Oh, we won't play your records no more. And so
That's
you
real.
have to be able to say, Harry Belafonte told me, he said, Paul Robeson told me this. He said, every generation has to fend for itself. But you can go in there, borrow, and also lend. And when you lend, man, don't try to be hanging with them like you part of them. They can see you coming a mile away. And lastly on that, it's just like the thing that cracked me up with all the stuff that's going on. You got people in their 40s and 50s, right, that don't think that they old. I said, no matter how young you look or whatever, man, it's like somebody's 18, 20, 21, you hanging with them, they can see you. They
right.
see the age coming at
That's
you.
right.
So they, I've been your age, you ain't ever been mine. You can always say that's your currency. That's your currency is the years that you're able to get and be lucky at that. And the troubling fact is that before you used to say, oh yeah, old dude, you got less years ahead than you got behind you. That's true. That's mathematics. But I don't want to see that happen with you at 41 and 39 and 32, and you got all these ailments going on. It's like that's just something that we all have to look at for this following generation. So I really commend y'all for being able to issue out like some governance in that, because I mean you don't have to do it. But at the end of the day, everybody turns around and says, damn, I could have did that. We all do that.
And trust me, we are the old guys that they trying to push up. Okay.
Oh yeah.
They don't. Some people have reverence for it. Some people are like, oh my God, they've been around too long.
But you know what alleviates that? Find out their names, let everybody know their personal names, and leave a horse head in the bed.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
Listen, man. Listen. Let me tell you this. Whenever I say something, right? Whenever I say something, Chuck D's name is signed with it. Like there's a whole bunch of Boston Celtics fans butthurt because I told it was karma and they think I'm talking about Jason Tatum's injury. And I was like, no, I was talking about their style of play, coward ball shooting trays. But they have that's some sucker move, Chuck, they say on X or Twitter, whatever the hell. Like they blame me. I said, listen, I own what I said. I meant what I said. But one thing that up there, Chuck D, or it might be an avatar up there, I sign everything I say. Everybody that does everything in this business is not signed their name next to their word.
That's right.
That's back in the day. Kurtis said, listen, number one thing, whether it was somebody on some goonish or somebody just on straight up, they say your word got to be your bond.
That's right.
That's a New York thing. That's a New York thing. I don't know if it's an Albany thing. I don't know if it's an Erie thing. You know what I'm saying? New York, which is the coolest place. 5% back, you say, yo, Mecca, New York, all that, center of the universe and all that. Okay. But if it is, then, okay, what's the accountability factor? That it's got to roll like kings and queens.
So they say, word is born and your bond is life, and you shall die before your word shall fail.
I heard that before.
Yeah.
Now, the alliance in the, that's what you were talking about before?
Hip Hop Alliance.
Hip Hop Alliance.
The Hip Hop Alliance is, first let me shout out KRS-One, who is our chairman.
He's the chairman.
Been on the road for 7 months, y'all.
Damn.
Out in Europe. And
I just seen him body somebody in Europe too. I guess the sound man was messing with the sound.
Oh yeah.
Chris turned off the music and did like a 7-minute freestyle, just going at him. The crowd was going crazy, but
right.
There's nothing like him.
That's Chris.
Listen, man, I've been watching this dude, man, 40 years, man. He's the only dude I've ever seen, only MC, and also my buddy, brother is Kool Moe Dee, who really kind of like opened the door to the scientific execution of vernacular and vocabulary.
Smart guy.
Chris Karras, one man's the only dude I ever seen that will walk in the room and change the molecular composition of the room of MCs. Because he'll go in the room with no matter what age and say, yo, who an MC in here? And everybody's like, nah, yo, I just work for UPS. I used to do it, but straight up and down. He'll go in the room and like, who's an MC in here? And cats would be like, yo, that's the thing that he do. Me, I'm a songwriter, and I'm a historian. I'm a voice person. I like to consider myself an administrator, a builder, a creator, and somebody who could bring the ball up and then divvy out the rock. That's what I like to do. Mm-hmm. And so you also, I know my lane, I know my roles. And my role when Kurt asked me to be one of those people in the Hip Hop Alliance, I being a magnet. If people are going to ask me, I'm going to talk about what I'm doing, but can I actually put a little bit in there? Back in the day, the Coolie High, they say, can you, put a little bit in for the ones that ain't here?
Right.
And that was always the ethic or at least the goal ethic of hip hop. That's right. To put a little bit in to say that unionizing is a necessity, and also the structure that was built is not just talk, it's real. And to get those numbers, it might not have a flashy time. We thank you for the time that you was able. You could have said, yo, I don't know, we just want to talk to you, Chuck, about Radio Armageddon, right? and we're so beyond that. But like I said, my brother over there at Def Jam and the work that Tunji as a brother, being able to carry the mantelpiece. We know that it's a shell and they got Justin Bieber and people like that over there, but Def Jam, I was there not at the beginning. This man was there at the beginning. You seen the movie Crush Groove, all that is Def Jam. But my guys, the Public Enemy guys, Hank Shockley, Flav, Terminator, all the way down. Well, I would like to think after LL, we put electric fixtures in the building, you know what I'm saying? Also with graced by the Beastie Boys, who never get enough talk either for what they were able to do. So being able to take that light, what I've been able to be in this industry is a prism. And if you know anything about a prism, the light goes to the prism and then it bounces all in different areas. And that's my responsibility and my goal.
Like a diamond.
Yeah.
So how do they support the Alliance?
Well, this is Chuck D, everyone. He is our president. I just want to say, I got a call from the founder, one of our founders. Actually, Chuck D is the founder along with myself and Scott X. So I got a call from Scott X, who is one of the presidents of the NAACP. And he said, man, we need a union. So I immediately called Chuck. And we started this thing back in 2007, but we got railroaded. We got sidetracked. And so we started it again about 2019 or something, 2022, actually, we formed the organization. And I want to shout out Chubb Rock, who is our vice president as well.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people doing real work. Me, I'm more like a recruiter out there. I do a lot of things, but this is the thing when Chuck, try to bring light to the situation, and I'm involved whenever they want to call me. When an emergency, break glass. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. So we have a whole team. It's Cynthia Horner. You guys know her from
Right On magazine back in the day.
Magazine and Right On, and Beverly Page, and there's Tara Martin. There's so many people that we have on board helping out with this organization, a labor force organization, and we specialize in IPs and trademarks and publishing, trying to fight for the fair wages and fair royalties. Very, very important. And health care. You guys were talking about the Black Don't Dead track, right? And it's health care is the number one issue out there for all artists across the world right now. They have millions of dollars that they're making for record companies and don't have health care.
Physical and mental.
Yeah. And it's critical. It's very important that we establish that we can find you health care to help you out in your time of need. So that's the Hip Hop Alliance, hiphopalliance.org.
Hiphopalliance.org.
Anything that you need from dealing with your manager, dealing with your agent, your record company, publishing, streaming, trademarks, all of that stuff. We have the experts working for you.
That's what
And
it is.
so just get with us. It's free to join right now. And
And where did they
contact
go?
us.
What's the website?
hiphopalliance.org.
hiphopalliance.org.
Well,
I
thank
do
you
have
so
one
much.
more question for Chuck D.
Well, number one, my one of my maintaining year by year goals is never to be donkey of the day.
That'll never happen.
Nah.
That'll
Well,
never happen.
Don't never say never.
No.
My goal is to never be donkey of the day, ass with no pass, addicted to the screens or screaming for the laughs. You know what I'm saying? Not trying to be that.
No, I've learned so much from both of y'all today, man. I just want to ask: are we in an information war or a culture war? And which one is Radio Armageddon fighting?
You're in the disinformation age, and that started at the turn of the century, and it's had several different technological and cultural and also societal bumps in the road. Nobody really can explain. Nobody can explain what the pandemic was. They still there's some people out there don't even remember it.
That's true. Yeah.
There's some people out there say they might have been bad. Oh, I'm this, I'm that. Yeah, I remember your ass stayed in the crib during April 2020. Nah, but when nobody was on the block. Yeah, right. So you're in a disinformation blizzard of data coming at the human mind that might not be and has probably never has been able to handle it. Now, new people will be born and maybe they'll decipher and handle information that's coming like a blizzard, but for people from the last centurions, probably not. So the information and data and all that, it's a nonstop blizzard, and how to navigate that, I think people have to be taught how to be netizens. Because if they're not citizens anymore. Citizens is like, hey, Charlamagne, shake your hand, look you in the eye, mama, we'll respond and all that. You got people that think that it's something right now. You always got to look at 7-year windows. So the answer to your question is that there's been some things that's been unexplained. Usually when I tell people something's fugazi, I said, oh, man, that's Butler, PA. Man, let me stop. But, but there's things that we're not going to be able to come up with answers for, that we got to go inside ourselves, build a shell, and build a tunnel into those with like-mindedness. Because you're not going to be able to have your like-mindedness get to somebody who's paying you no mind. Mind over matter is a terrible thing sometimes, when they say you don't matter and they don't mind paying you no mind.
Damn. And what are those books?
These books, I'm an artist. I'm a illustrator.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It's the beginning of my, and I could
Thank
get
you,
all my, I've created 12 books. I have one for you, Kurt. I'll send the whole thing, but
Okay, no problem.
I have 12 art books, and I started out as an illustrator, and politically and cartoon-wise, I'm actually 2 artists at the same time. But that's a whole nother story.
Wow.
But my company is called Enemy Books. It's Akashic is a book company that publishes my book label, and Johnny Temple is a great guy because he's put out books by Glenn Freeman and Black Flag and all that stuff. But he's right there in Brooklyn, and I have had art shows around the world. Look to have some stuff down in MoMA one year, because I like a lot of people talk pop stuff like Basquiat, but they don't know Basquiat. But they'll wear some Basquiat because it's a hip, cool thing to do. But it has to be made to be hip and curated to a point where we're like, oh yeah, I think that's cool. I was, we were coming up when Basquiat was there doing his thing. More so you, because you was in the city. Me, I was at Delphi, and I wanted to just like, I could take that kid. That's that competitive. I'm more competitive as an illustrator, and I do kind of like, I don't caricatures. It's like I don't care if they exact or accurate. I could do that, paint, sculpt, but it's all about style in art.
Right.
And everybody has art in them. It doesn't mean that you're trying to compete against your iPhone and filters. So I think that also got to be developed. Also, high schools could do a better job in trying to curate their drama classes. Because everybody want to be in the movies, right? But what happened to, the football or the basketball team gets supported, but the arts programs don't.
That's right.
But at the end of the day, everybody's buying art or led to consume art.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't have companies and corporations control art. And they don't let companies and corporations control sports, because in the high school and the college level, although now you have the NIL and stuff like that, but there's always a balance and there's a flow there. In the arts, we've seen it truncated. So the arts, health, union, music, I'm a culturalist. I'm a raptivist and a culturalist. I am good at the things I'm good at, and most of the things I am not good at. So when one thing that saves you most of the time, that doesn't make you a donkey of the day, the person asks me a question, is the thing that always is cool. I don't know.
That's right.
Or like, I got no words. Or when you ain't got nothing to say
nothing.
Well, I say this, that Chuck D is a great artist. I have seen his work. I mean, we have this group chat that we have for the Hip Hop Alliance, about 10, 15 people on the group chat, and we're discussing business or traumatic situations that happen, or who we can help next. And Chuck, when there's a death in our community, Chuck will do a art piece right quick and post it before we get off the chat.
Yeah,
and I'm like, this man is incredible.
Well, I don't think it's incredible. I trained myself, and I won't talk long about it. I trained myself back in the day to be a courtroom artist. And we're starting to see, like with my man's case, now you're seeing only courtroom drawings.
Right.
Back in the day, the courtroom illustrator would have to do the illustration and then jet down to the TV station to get it for the 6 o'clock news.
Right.
But then now with phones and gadgets, and you can actually send it through the text and all that's different. But as you see in the New York case, no photos, no cameras are allowed. So they still like in last century on that tip. But what's coming out of there is the illustrations.
Right.
So I trained myself, especially like, this is what you do with tour downtime.
But then
I created things.
Then again, you have your own style.
Yeah, style is just like what I'm saying. You got if you have your own style, nobody can bite you. I mean, they got to bite you, but you're not competing against anything.
Right.
So I could do something like draw this whole room off of memory to the accurate. But I ain't spending a long time doing that.
That means Chuck ain't listening on them calls though. Do you know when y'all talking? He just on them text. He's doing the illustration.
Oh, he can multitask.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I
multitask.
I could draw this whole room and not even look at that or y'all.
That's crazy.
Wow.
Because it's like I could. But then it ain't about me on that tip. You guys got my book. I'll send you all my whole catalog. You can see it in the back. You see it. I bought your book. That's all right. Let me give you mine. At least I got books. I'll send it, guys.
Well, Chuck D, ladies and gentlemen, Kurtis Blow.
Man,
we appreciate y'all so much for joining us, man.
And not just for joining us, man. Just thank you for existing, and thank you for all the fights y'all fought for hip hop, for Black people. We really appreciate y'all. Man.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I appreciate y'all, the giants, and I really appreciate once again for being able to offer your throne to the Godfather.
Oh man, no. My gratefulness is extended to you guys. This is the first time I've ever met you in person, Charlamagne. I think
so too. Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard about you. You are a big time cat.
God is good. I'm doing okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, brother.
And Envy, we go way back.
Absolutely.
And my man, it's good to see you
Good
always.
to see you as well.
I shouting out the 5 boroughs. I gotta shout out my Knicks. I just
stay off of 7th Avenue.
I just talked
That's right.
The lead increased in the fourth quarter, and it's us. Stay out of 7th Avenue.
I talked to Bernard King the other day, and he is a good cat, man. He is a very, he was like MVP for the NBA a couple of years, and it's just amazing to still be in touch with people like Patrick Ewing and John Starks and
Allen Houston, Starbury, I see over there.
Yeah. Allen Houston, big shout out to him and my boy Unc and the New York Knicks. I hope we get this game 6 tonight, everyone.
We got it.
When you name check people in basketball, that had to be something when you run into those players and they're like, man, you name check me, like Dominique Wilkins and people like that.
Oh, man, yes. It's always great to be a part of that whole scene, you know. So shout out to Jalen Brunson and Kat and OG, my man.
OG.
Bridges, man.
Yep.
What a great team.
I like to leave with one note just to say that we want to be able sometimes to use social media for all the power that it has been in its creation. It's always better to shine somebody's day up by congratulating instead of it being used for hating.
There you go.
That's
There
true.
you go.
Absolutely.
I mean, the compliment, when you receive a compliment, if you could open your day when you open up, whatever, if you receive a compliment, just give a compliment on just GP.
Right.
And yo, man, I love that. That's cool. I could dig it. Boom, like that. It goes a long way because we're going to have to figure out, you know, a certain life cycle with these gadgets and devices because they're here to stay. You know, even when they get implanted into your gums.
Oh, that's coming.
That's right.
Neuralink is right there. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And shouting out the 5 boroughs, y'all. We can't forget that, man. I love you all, Queens. You know, my heart is in Queens, Long Island, Brooklyn. I love you. Harlem. You know, I was born and raised in Harlem.
Connecticut and Jersey.
And the Boogie Down, you know, we can't forget the Boogie Down Bronx gave us hip-hop, this whole movement.
Yes, indeed.
And the future is yours. I just want to tell all the young people listening, the future of this planet is in your hands, you know?
And don't forget about Staten Island.
We come on.
You talk everybody forget about Staten.
I was going to say Richmond County.
Okay.
right. Wu-Tang.
That's right.
Right.
Curtis
So,
Blow, Chuck D.
Man, I love you guys. And
Love you
thank
too,
you,
brother.
thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for the movement. Thank you for the support. And Hip Hop Church, y'all, coming June 5th up in Harlem, 160 West 146th Street. Y'all you saw the Godfather Harlem?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know that building that he lives in? Right next door is the Hip Hop Church.
Okay.
All right. So big shout out to all my people up in Harlem as well as the Boogie Down. I love you all. Let's continue this movement. Hip hop is the #1 stream music around the globe right now. We are the voice of the people, and let's take it further. Let's leave them with these words of Martin Luther King that any time is the right time to do the right thing.
That's right. And it's
All
the
right?
Breakfast
I
Club.
love you all.
Good morning.
Wake that ass up.
Early in the morning.
The Breakfast Club.